you always hear stories about that, but you never know it always real. You understand? You always think of fake news. You always feel it's fake news, and so you just go with the flow and you laugh and just laugh it off and move on. But really and truly, it does happen. And so back to me, where this is the situation that I've been dealing with for the past few months. Actually heading to a visit as we speak. I said I was going to tell you a little bit more about why I quit my nursing room job. But first, let me tell you the kind of emergency room I was working in. So the hospital was a 90-bed hospital. It was a small system. It was more a specialist hospital, so it was more cardiology and spine. And I decided to start working there because I wanted the experience as a registered nurse in preparation for me working as a nurse practitioner, because I wanted to work in an internal practice where that was the specialty. And so I took the job with the hopes that I would have gained experience as a registered nurse, and then would have been a better candidate to get an NP job or a nurse practitioner job. So when I did, turn left onto Independence Parkway. Sorry, the GPS. So when I did that, I was working there for almost 1 year. So April would have been 1 year since I would have been at that location as a full-time nurse. It has its up and down because turn left onto Independence Parkway. We saw like between 5 to 12 patients per day, which was a pretty good job for an ER nurse, because I'm used to working in bigger hospitals, and it has been pretty busy a lot of times, especially with COVID and all. It has been really busy. So working at a 5-bed emergency room, and it's a specialist hospital, I was just so happy because I had so much downtime. I could focus on just relaxing a little bit. And so I was there. At the time of the interview, they had said that State Highway 121 North. At the time of the interview, they had said that we won't have a tech, so it's more of 2 nurses working in the emergency room and a doctor, and that is understandable. But then I come to realize that some days it can be very busy, because when you have like your STEMIs, your patients walking in, some persons just see the big H sign to say it's a hospital and they just show up. And regardless of the fact that it is a specialist hospital, you cannot really turn those patients away. State Highway 121 North. You have to really see them, stabilize them, regardless of what resources you have on hand. And so that was the situation there. A lot of times on State Highway 121 North for 6 miles. A lot of times we're there and we don't really see that much volume. But as I say, if we do see 5 patients, it is like crazy. So sometimes we have to call by the main hospital, which is, let's say, probably like say a 3 minutes or 5 minutes, less than 5 minutes drive, to get someone over onto our little specialty hospital to assist us during those times. And that was fine, because they were always getting staff over to us whenever we call, or they'll be able to see the tracker and they will send staff over even if we haven't called as yet, because probably they're thinking that we're busy. And when we're talking about being busy, we're talking about having EMS dropping in with all of your STEMI patients, all of your cardiac patients. You might have a 1 or 2 patients that are having stroke-like symptoms, and all of these symptoms are time sensitive. You want to ensure that you take care of those patients in a timely manner to prevent any complications associated with a brain injury or a cardiac injury. And so that was the situation. So I was there working and everything was going fine. The only problem I had was when it comes on to the floors taking report, it was always like a big problem. And I understand that probably I was just a little bit proactive, but I don't like chaos. You know, it doesn't mean that because you have 2 patients in the ER that has 5 beds, it doesn't mean that you're gonna hang on to those patients in the 5-bed ER until thy kingdom come. No, once a bed is assigned to the patient, I feel the patient needs to go to the floor. I usually will give them 15-20 minutes to kind of, you know, get ready for their patient. I'll call and be like, hey, this is Stacy from the ER. We have a patient for you. Sometimes they're not ready, and I'm like, okay, then no problem. That is the time when I start saying, you know, at least now you know you have a patient. Some will be, you know, and it was always dependent on who is working, because if you have travel nurses, and I think it's more of a thing with travel nurses, they understand a little bit better than some nurses who have never been outside of the box before, you know. So the travel nurses, they tend to either take report a little bit faster, they're a little bit more proactive, they're not going to complain about a blood pressure that is like 130/60 or 130/80, you know, they're not going to create excitement over anything like that. And so it was always a big issue when you're trying to give report and you only have 5 beds in the ER and you can't get anything done because the nurses on the floor are not taking report. Sometimes, depending on whichever house supervisor is available, they'll go ahead and remove the bed and say, hey, hold off on sending the patient to the floor. And what they'll do is they'll wait until the 5 beds in the ER becomes full. Remember, you only have 5 beds and you only have 5 beds and you only have 2 nurses. So can you imagine EMS still coming in? And it's not like the case where the EMS are calling. Nobody is not calling to give you a heads up to say that there's a patient on their way to come and see you. You know, no, you just see an ambulance just rolling with their lights on, and that's it. And that's fine for me, because I'm an emergency room nurse. I'm trained to handle situations like that. So whatever it is, whether or not the ambulance want to show up with their lights on, or persons just want to show up. No, I work in a system back in Jamaica where we don't have ambulances, and so it was fine for me to see patients and take care of them, and they survive. You understand? So coming here and having EMS bringing the patient, they already have an IV, they already started on some fluid, they've already gotten something going on to stabilize them. I ain't complaining about anything. My problem is that the 5 beds in the emergency room are housed with patients who already have beds on the floor, and nobody's trying their best to get those patients out. And so what happened is that you tend to have this issue where it seems as though I become the problem because I'm being the proactive nurse. I don't want to have chaos in my department, and I am calling too much, or I am being too pushy with getting the patients out. Oh, you call too much to give report. I'm not running a morgue. So I'm gonna call you because you have a patient who needs to come to your room or come to your floor because the patient has a bed assigned. It can't be a case where I give you a report from 3 o'clock in the evening and 11 o'clock in the night the patient is still in the emergency room. For what? This patient is alive, the patient is not dead. Why do we need to keep the patients in the room for that long? Oh, because the nurses on the floor don't have a tech. The nurses on the floor, they're short staffed, they're doing admission, they're doing discharge. At what point are they gonna stop and say, hey, I need to prioritize and I need to get the patient from the emergency room? I've gotten reports in 3 o'clock. Now it's 6, 7 o'clock, 8, 9, 10, 11. Who is actually, you know, looking out for the emergency room? And that's what is always an issue for me. You understand? And so what happens is that when you talk up, people don't like when you talk up. Think it's being rude. If you have too much of a voice, I think it's being rude. They'll fire you, because the other day they fire somebody because to me that nurse is a really good nurse, and she is the kind of person who gets things done. But you have some persons, like, you know, they come out of nursing school and I guess they expect that, you know, you're supposed to be rubbing them back and patting them shoulder to tell them, oh, you're doing a good job right around the corner. I mean around the clock. They don't remember that they're working in an emergency room. You understand? They don't remember that they're there to stabilize a patient. And so if you decide to say something to them in an effort to get things done to stabilize that patient, you hear that, oh, you're being rude, you're being bossy, you're being bullying, and all of that thing that nobody likes to hear, especially corporate America. You know, HR, they don't like hear that, because at the end of the day, what is going to happen is that they're going to fire you. And that's the same reason I feel why they dismissed that young lady. You always hear stories about that, but you never know it's always real. You understand? You always think of fake news. You always feel it's fake news, and so you just go with the flow and you laugh and just laugh it off and move on. But really and truly, it does happen. And so, back to me, you know, where this is the situation that I've been dealing with for the past few months. It has gotten to a point where I just cannot deal with it anymore. You understand? It comes to a point where I keep on putting in reports because it doesn't make sense you talk about it. You talk to the person about it and you say, hey, why you can't take the report, or why you're not taking the patient on the floor. You hear 1,000,001 story. And these patients are patients that they already stabilized and them are the routine meds for. These are the same patient that not going nowhere. The patient not going nowhere. You understand? They're not doing anything emergency wise for that patient. I can understand. I can understand when I hear code blue, rapid response, or if the supervisor called to say, don't send the patient to the floor. That's totally different. I'm not going to go against any of those orders. But when you don't hear anything going on the floor or in the hospital, what are you supposed to be doing? Are you supposed to be just sitting down and looking at the patients in the department? For what? You understand? I don't like it. You looking at me as a patient and me looking at you as a patient. And then the other thing about it is that when you document it, it seems like it's a problem. But I'll tell you more a little bit about that as well in another video. So I start resorting to going and filing an incident report. And you would think that something would come out of it because you're filing all of these incident report with all of these, like, you know, these little time lapse or these long wait time for the patients in the emergency room, and nothing really comes out of it. You only hear that they're working on it, but nobody not working on anything. The only thing they're working on is trying to see how they can, you know, work the nurses a little bit more. You understand? And so I never really liked the idea about the whole thing. And merge onto Texas 399 Spur East. And so that was just the situation. And as I said, it is just a problem. It's just a constant problem that the emergency nurse is having to deal with, because you're doing your duty and only to hear that, oh, you're not supposed to be doing this because the nurse is on the floor, you know, they don't like it. You step on somebody's toe, you hurt them feelings, you need to go and rub them back, you need to give them a massage. Like, what else can we do? So anyways, that was just one part of, you know, why I decided that this is not gonna be a place that I'm gonna be hanging out for too long, because it was just too much for me to deal with. I can deal with stress and I can handle it, but when you come onto a place and you realize that after a while, you see, when they start talk about, oh, you have a tone, yes, you have to start pack up your things them little and put it, you know, one side and start make your way out. Because anytime you hear they start say that you have a tone, a problem. Anytime you start hear that you have a tone is problem. Because as we say, nobody not like when you have when you speak out. They like when you speak out, you know. But when you speak out and, you know, go and you know, go according to how they want to hear it, then a problem. And when you speak out and you show up them little ways, a problem. It's a problem. People will come back and try to tear you down. You understand? And that's what I realized. A lot of people in this industry, they try to tear you down as you go along. You understand? But this of whatever happened, always document. And that's what I always say, always document, you know. And even though HR is there, they're probably not on your side, but you can still go ahead and whisper to them if you feel like. I'm almost at my destination for my patient right now. So what I'm gonna do when I'm coming back, I'll talk to you a little bit more about another part of the series that I'll be explaining to you in why I left my emergency room job. Until then, I hope that you do enjoy the video. Please remember to like, share, subscribe, turn that notification bell on, and remember to give a thumbs up. Leave your comments below, you know, share your views on the topic, and I do hope that hopefully you understand what I'm saying. All right, bye.